Hi there! I bet you remember the elements of art.
The elements of art: line, shape, value, color, form, texture, space. These are the elements of art.
Those things that come together to make our artwork. Well, today we're going to be exploring 3 elements of art. I would say maybe more reviewing 3 elements of art, because I'm sure you're well acquainted with them by this point. But the first is going to be line. Some people define that element of art as a dot moving through space. Anyways, we are going to use line, and then we're going to throw in what would be, in my opinion, the second most basic element of art, which would be shape. I would consider line the most basic, and shape the second most basic. And then we're going to throw in some color, because, well, I don't know about you, but color's probably my favorite element of art. So journey along with me today, and we will create a line and shape design that has some color in it.
For this art project, you will need a piece of drawing paper and colored pencils. So let's get started. To start, we are going to draw a line, and this line is going to end up filling our paper. You just start in one corner, and you can make your line any way you want. I am doing what I like to call a loop-de-loop line, but some people also call it a curly line. And I'm just going to curl this line all throughout my paper. You can draw your line in straight rows, you can go up and down and around a little bit, but however you make your line, you want to pull this line throughout the entire paper. You want to make this line continue and continue until it fills the paper. If you do not like the curly or the loop-de-loop line, you could do a zigzag line. Again, you would fill your paper with this line. You could make lines of zigzags, or you could go up a little bit with a zigzag and then come back down. If you don't like zigzag, that would be alright too. And you could try maybe, let's say, a wavy line. And again, you would want to fill your paper with the wavy line. One line that you would not want to do is a dotted line, because it's just not going to work well for our project. So no to the dotted line. One last thing that you do not want to do is to look scribbly when you're making these lines, because that will not equal good artwork. Our next step is to add some shapes. Now, if you have some type of shape template that you can trace, that is one great way to put shapes onto your paper. Another option would be to use a ruler to create your shapes that have straight lines. So right now, I'm going to create a square, or you could look at it as a diamond shape, because I'm kind of going to lay it on its side. And next, I will grab one of our shape templates here, and I will trace that to create my next shape. I will continue adding shapes until I feel like I have enough shapes to make my artwork look full. So for me, it will be 5 shapes. Some people will find that 4 shapes might make their artwork look full because they are drawing their shapes larger, and others might find that they need 6 shapes because some of their shapes were smaller, and that is perfectly fine. You probably don't want to do too many more shapes than 6, just because that's a lot of work for you. After you finish drawing your shapes, go around each outline and darken it so that these shapes really stand out above the other line that you drew at first. For this section, you will need your colored pencils. We are going to use monochromatic colors, which means you will choose a color and then use the lighter and darker versions of that color. And usually you want about 3 colors that would fit into your monochromatic scheme. So I have like 3 different blues here, or 3 different reds here. And so those would be the monochromatic of red and blue. Here's 3 different colors of the green. So monochromatic of green. The word monochromatic means using the lights and darks of one color. So what we will do with these colors from the monochromatic color scheme is we will color in a little area that is defined by the line that we created. So for me, it's that curly line, and I'm coloring in with one of my greens into a section that I created inside of that diamond or that square with my one color of green. You see how I'm just coloring where the line defines where I should color. So you almost use it like a little coloring book, and you just color one area with that color really nice and neat before you move on to your next color. Now the next color is again going to be another green. So right now I'm using like a darker green, and then next I will pick up either a lighter or a medium green. And I would continue coloring in with the different greens in that rectangle or square, diamond, whatever you want to call it. I will color it with the 3 different greens, switching every time I get to a line. Now that I am mostly finished my green, I will move on to blue, and I'm going to do the same thing, coloring really nice and neat with one of my blues, and I have 3 different blues here. So I will color nice and neat with one blue, and then I will switch over to another blue, and I'm keeping my coloring defined within those lines I created with my curly lines. Next, I will be grabbing red, and I will color the heart shape using the red colors that I have. Now, you will notice that one of my colors looks really like pink. That's because pink is a tint or a lighter color of red. So when you do the monochromatic of red, it would have pink as one of the colors in it. Because within a color, there is lighter and darker colors, and we oftentimes have names for those lighter and darker colors, like such as with green. If it's a lighter green, sometimes we call it a lime green, or blue, a lighter blue, we call it a baby blue. And then with a darker blue, we might call it a navy blue. And with a darker green, we may call it a hunter green. And so we have names for these colors, but they're all existing within that same color. Like within green, there is lime green and hunter green and grass green, and they all are still considered green. Now you might be saying, well, what if I don't have 3 versions of the color that I want to use? Well, that's okay. Here with our next shape, I will show you what to do if you only have one version of a color and you still want to do this project. So you still want to do this project, but you do not have 3 of any color. Here I'm going to take orange and show you what to do if you only have 1 of each color, but you want to do a monochromatic version of each color. First, I'm coloring very light with my orange, and I'm coloring light by not putting much pressure on my pencil. And that is my first color. It's the lightest of my orange. I'm going to now color a medium tone of orange. And I'm doing that by putting a medium amount of pressure on it. So it's not as light as I can possibly put as far as pressure goes, but as also not as heavy as I can possibly press. And now I'm going to press as hard as I can to get the last color, and that would be my darker orange. So you can see that I'm creating 3 different kinds of orange from this one colored pencil. Again, you press very, very light for the first color, you put a medium amount of pressure on the pencil for the second color, and you press very hard for the third color, and you will have 3 versions of one color. And now for my last shape. Now if you notice, I set my last shape a little bit off the paper, and that's just an artistic choice, so if you wanted to do something like that, you're welcome to it. I'm choosing my 3 purples for this one, and again, using those lines I created, I'm going to alternate which purple I will be using, the light purple, dark purple, or a almost pinkish purple. So I will put it into my high-speed mode again to complete this piece of art. So there you have it, a monochromatic shape and line drawing. I hope you had a lot of fun making this, as I know I did. And of course, if you like this video, please subscribe and press thumbs up.